Hi Blessings! Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. My name is Brooke and this is Pages of Blessings. Alright, so I'm trying a new location. I'm in my son's playroom in front of a light, so I'm sorry if this lighting is a little wonky or different. I'm just kind of experimenting with being in different places in my house. I am coming to you today to talk about children's books and encouraging your young children to engage with books. So I thought being in my son's playroom, surrounded by his books, would be the best place to film. I do have an almost 2-year-old son and I am expecting a little girl, and many of you, when I mentioned that in one of my intro videos, had said that you would love suggestions on books for that age group. How do you introduce reading, when they can't read? What does that look like? How do you foster a love for reading from birth onward? And so that's kind of what I'm here to talk about. I don't have like a full range of experience. I only have my son who's 21 months, but I have seen his love for reading grow and his desire to choose books instead of, TV or, some of his toys. Sometimes I'll peek into his playroom and he will be sitting and just going through book after book by himself, just looking at the pictures. He's starting to get to the point where he will talk to himself while he's reading, so kind of trying to create a story in his head. So that's been really encouraging to see, and I wanted to share what I've done. This is not a foolproof tips, but I just want to share what we've done and what's worked well for my son and what we will continue to do for our daughter when she's here. So to start, I would encourage reading right from the get-go. I even read a few stories, not as much as I would have hoped, but while I was pregnant, and clearly now that I am pregnant with a kid, I'm reading all the time to both of them, essentially, because the baby in the womb can hear your voice. And I read from the moment he was born and kept going. So my first tip would be to have books available or to read books at and above their level. Now, I wouldn't consider this like a reading level because we're talking about kiddos who can't read yet, but I'm meaning books that are gauged for their age group, but also exposing them to books that are above their age group. So an example, one of my favorite things for newborns are black and white cards. So they make books that have black and white pictures. This is the first thing I was able to find and grab. We used a lot for tummy time, so setting this out in front of them. So this is a perfect example of at like a 1-month-old's level, right? But then also reading a book, an actual story. This is one we got from the library with words and pictures to them, even though they're not necessarily engaging with the book in like an appropriate way, right? You're just reading the words, but you're exposing them. So this would be considered, at their level, above their level. Now for my son, the same thing kind of goes. He has access to books at his level. So this is what is in his playroom right now. So at his level, just having board books with pictures. So this one's more like a nonfiction where we can talk and point at the and talk about the things. We also at his level, and he can flip through. There's texture to this. Something above his level would be, okay, 3 Little Pigs. So he can't read the words, right? But I read it to him. And something above his level, again, would be more of like exposing him to picture books. So you kind of see the range, like it's not all board books. He doesn't have access to paper books. I keep them all in a basket, and he can ask for me to read picture books to him. He's not at the point where he won't rip the pages. So all of his at his level books are board books, but he does have the ability to see and ask for this, if that makes sense. Which leans into my next tip, having books in every room of your house or in most rooms of your house. So there are books in my son's playroom, in his bedroom, and in our living room. So the 3 main areas that he is in during the day, there are books at his level. So this is what we have in his playroom. He's able to walk up and pick books out of this. We have a basket of books that he can pull down from the shelf and look at in our living room, and he has a smaller, it's probably about this big, bookshelf in his bedroom, again, that he can go and take books out of. So we have books in 3 different places. Pretty much anywhere there is toys in our house, there is also books. Like my biggest thing is always having them available for them to grab and to interact with just as much as toys, which I know can be a little intimidating when they're so young and you're not sure how rough they're going to be on their books. But I'd rather him be able to engage with a book more, and instead of me being a gatekeeper. I don't want to be the gatekeeper to him be loving to read. I don't want him to think, oh, I can only read with my mom or my dad. I want him to feel like he has complete control over what books he can have out and when. Something that also would tie into that, these aren't all his books, right? So they're in 3 different rooms, but then I also have a stash of books in the closet. So behind me there's a closet, and I have all of his extra books, and I rotate books out on a bi-weekly to monthly basis, because it can easily become clutter with all the books we have. I keep just enough as this will hold, and the rest go in the closet. Then after a couple weeks I switch them out, which keeps his interest, and it's like, oh, these are new, and then he wants to gravitate towards the books versus reading the same 5 over and over and over again for a month and then not wanting anything to do with his books anymore. My next tip would be to never say no to reading. I have made it a point now that my son can verbally ask or request, like, bring me a book when he does that, even if I'm in the middle of a chore, doing the dishes, washing something, doing laundry, whatever it is, and he brings me a book, I say, yes, we can read that, and I sit down and read it with him right then and there. I want him to associate reading in a positive way, and I believe this is one way that we can do that, by him understanding that by bringing mom a book, he gets my attention, and we reinforce that love for reading. That together time is a time when, if he wants time to spend with me, we're bonding over that book or reading a story, and I will read as many books as he wants to sit for. And that does take some adjustment on your part to not necessarily say, oh no, not right now, or to allow yourself to stop in the middle of a task, which can be difficult for a lot of us, but to realize that you are reinforcing something that's going to benefit them for the rest of their life. When they can't request books, I just try to make it more of a priority. So when I was engaging and playing with him on the floor, to make sure we also included books in every situation that we were spending that one-on-one time with, and associating that again with a positive reinforcement. Next tip is to include interactive books at this age. So books that have texture, sound, things, flaps, things that move, music, anything that is multi-sensory is a great thing to introduce into this 2 and under category. Our favorite interactive books have all come from Usborne Books and More. So this is an example. This is a playbook. There is texture. They also have cutouts. So there's like I don't know if you can see this, but there's a trail right here that you can follow with your finger, different designs, different textures to explore. So this is great when they're basically, I call them like lap babies. So they can sit on your lap. You can talk about, there's not words you're gonna have to like kind of come up with your own, or oh, there's a monkey or a bird, and like labeling everything that you're seeing, but then they can sit and put their hands on the book and interact that way. This is another one of our favorite series from the Usborne company. It has a lot of flaps, and these are, they come like peek-throughs, but these pages are so sturdy, and my son still will gravitate to these books now. I also really love, this is another example. So like even just like the little cutouts, this makes the books more engaging. And what I love about books like this is they're great for when they're little. You can say the words on the page, say the story, read the story, but you don't have to. You can talk about what's in the pictures, but also if you look down here, there's a duck on every page. So as they grow, so my son's just getting to the point where he understands like, oh, we look for the duck. These books grow with them, which I love. So looking for ways that you can include books at every level, asking questions about the pictures on the pages, it doesn't always have to be just reading the words. Now they're interactive books. So like our black and white pages, this one also folds out. And so we used this a lot when he was little, but we can also use it now that he's learning colors. So another favorite are these musical books. They have a on and off switch on the back, which is great. There's Beethoven. We also have a Mozart version of this book, and even at 6 months old, he would light up when I would play the music, and I would turn it off and he would get really upset. So this was a great tool that I would bring out and let him look at the pictures, and we'd listen to the music. But now this is more something he can get out on his own and interact with at his own pace. I have 2 more tips for you. Next is to lead by example. If you want your kiddos to love reading, you should show that enjoyment to them through how you, and not just with how you read your own books. That's important too, but I primarily read when my child's napping or asleep, so he's not quite seeing me at the point where he's seeing me reading all the time. But I show excitement when I'm reading the books. I'm not another book like, okay, yes, let's read another book. Or I show excitement when we go to the library. I say, oh my gosh, buddy, look at this book that I found. You know, we just picked out a bunch of snowman books. This one's from the library. And so I'm like, oh, do you see all the snowmen? Should we take this one home? I show enthusiasm and excitement surrounding books in hopes that he also would show that same enthusiasm and same enthusiasm and excitement. Whoa, that was a tongue twister of a sentence. So again, lead by example. As they get older and are able to see you physically read a book more and more, that's great. But right now, don't make reading seem like a chore. Make it fun, make it a game. You know, can we find all the snowmen? Our biggest thing right now is we love to count things that we see in the picture. And my son is getting to the point now where he'll pick up my hand and have me and point to everything that we're counting. Even though he can't quite count yet, he's understanding that concept, and after a few times of doing it in a book, he's taking the lead on that, which I love to see. Keep holding this book up, so I might as well show you. This one is Snowmen at Night. We haven't gotten to reading it yet, but this is essentially like what snowmen do once everyone is asleep and they kind of take over the town, which is a really cute book. And I love, this is traditionally a picture book, but they made it into a board book, which means I can let him have access to it. And my last tip is use your library. I have a ton of books that we own, but a lot of the books I bring into my home are from the library. I'll research a topic he's currently interested in, like right now it's trains, and I will try to find as many train books as I can and bring them in. Or when the seasons change, finding fall books or Christmas books, Thanksgiving books, books about snowmen, books about trucks. There's endless amount of books out there, especially for this age group. And so I'm always looking for exciting books to bring into our home, and then also be able to kind of try it out. Like, is this something we would want to purchase? Has this become a favorite? There's one by Lori Nichols called Maple, and we have checked it out of the library 2 or 3 times, and now it's on our list to buy because he never gets bored of it and he asks for it every single day, every time we have it checked out from the library. So that is on our list to buy. A couple more books that we got from the library recently, Duck and Hippo. There's a whole series, it's very charming. It's about little duck and hippo friends. This one we have, but it's a paperback version, so he can't have access to it, but he loves the story. And so when I saw that our library had it in a board book, I grabbed it. This one's a sweet story about animals getting ready for the winter because they see a little girl have like a hat and gloves, and so they think they need to have a hat and gloves. I'm pretty sure that's what this is. I already showed this one, Itsy Bitsy Spider and Snowman's at Night. I think that's all I have up here from library books. But again, there's so many books out there. I would just recommend finding books that your kiddo is interested in, make them interactive, and then talk to them about not just the words on the page, but the pictures and describing things and pointing things and just being excited around books. That's pretty much what we've done, and my son loves to read. So I'm hoping maybe once baby girl's here, if we have to change anything up or we do anything different, I'll be happy to share. If you are interested in any of these interactive books that I showed you today, this is also another one. My son's favorite has animal sounds. I will put a link below. I am a independent consultant with Usborne, purely because we love the books and I get a little bit of a discount since I'm a consultant, so that's helpful for us as a family. So if you want to shop some of these for Christmas or look at anything more in depth, I'll leave that below. No pressure at all, just want to give it as an option. But I do, if you do use that link, I do get a little percentage that we'll most likely put for more books for our family. That's it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.